Guys, gals, and pals, welcome back to Paint and Talk episode 22. Pretty crazy that we're here. As always, I hope you had a great 24 hours since the last time I've seen you. Today, I want to talk about something that definitely has permeated like 90% of what I've done on the internet. I'd probably say more than 90% even. And that's art criticism. Art criticism is this really... I guess before I make a statement like that, I should just get into my relationship with art criticism, right? I started art criticism like as a criticizer, I guess, as a critic. And that was on one of my first YouTube channels, which was Dicehead27. On that channel, I talked about anime, manga, comics, and it was one of those channels where I branched out to all the different types of media, but it was really just about anime, manga, and comics, to be honest. And on that channel, I made probably over 200 videos just discussing different things, and in that time, I became I'd say that's where I had my journey with art criticism. I started out as, like I said, one of the people doing it, and then over time, I became super just disillusioned with the whole thing as I went on. And I think if I'm just to say, what started that disillusionment, it was really the space around art criticism. I think the disillusionment came from me actually taking the time to make art, I definitely, at that point in my life, was consuming a lot more than I was creating. So because of that, I think that it allowed me to have this very skewed perspective on art. And then I got to a point about a year and a half into my time as a critic where I started creating more. I was working on this series. And in that time is when that's when I truly became disillusioned, because I created more than I consumed for the first time in my life. And doing that, I really discovered just how strange the space was. I think that's probably the first time I was really introduced to any sort of postmodern ideas in criticism, because I have a very postmodern perspective on art as a whole at this point, if that's not already extremely clear, from my videos and such. I view it as something that has no objectivity. It's just a purely personal experience consuming and creating art. And it's beautiful when it can be shared and people can find other things in it, but no matter, it could be the best thing ever and half the people will hate it, And once I started coming to that conclusion is when I fully became disillusioned with the space. But I feel like even before that, I saw cracks in it almost, just because, it's not the hardest space to see cracks in, if we're being honest. And I'm sure we've all seen them. I think that I really found that we all had seen them when I made that video comparing Love Sosa to David. Because, obviously, if you've seen it, that video has nothing to do with Love Sosa or David. It was purely just about the fact that art is subjective, right? That's basically the thesis of that video. There's no way to compare art in any sort because it's always going to be extremely, extremely subjective. And I think that really proved to me that people are also feeling this, because just the sheer number of people who responded to that video so viscerally of wow, that is something I've always, I got a lot, and I hate saying this because it makes it sound like I did something way bigger than I did, but I got a lot of people being this video changed my life. This was a perspective altering video. And I don't think the reason I'm getting those comments, or that I got those comments, the video's slowed down now. It's about a year ago. But I think the reason I got those is because it was, I don't think it was because it was a stellar video or because I was a genius and pointed something great out. I don't think it was any of those things. I think it was purely because I pointed something out that a lot of people could feel, but didn't see yet. You know what I mean? It's not something that there's a lot of, if you're just casually browsing the internet, it's not something that you're going to encounter a lot, is this postmodern perspective on art. But it's something you can sort of feel, because like why, how come this thing's considered the best of all time, but I liked the episode of SpongeBob I watched as a kid more than that. We all can relate to that in some degree, and I think that I was able to just like kind of show people like, oh, this is exactly what that is. This is the perspective that I have, and I think that like a lot of people who were maybe in the space of seeing art be criticized kind of felt that, and I think that's why that video resonated with so many people, and that was an amazing experience. I kind of, a lot of my friends in person joke about that video to me just because it's like, at this point, theoretically the biggest thing I've ever done, because it is. I mean, it has a lot of views, and that's obviously awesome. So I kind of at this point have like a running joke that I hate the video, just because of how much I have to hear about it and experience it, you know what I mean? But I do genuinely really, it was a great experience to make something that resonated with people that extensively, you know what I mean? If it's not, by the way, I'm trying to make like a tree man today. I think it's gonna look really cool in the end. I think I have an okay basing for it. This is definitely something very experimental. I've never made anything, not that this is realistic exactly, but like I have a face here, and I've never done anything like that in a painting. So that's definitely gonna be interesting. Anyways, back on track here though. I think it was an awesome experience to put something into words that a lot of people maybe hadn't had put into words for them before. But at the same time, I do understand that like that was almost a half-baked idea in itself, I was able to point out successfully, like, oh, there's a lot about art that is not explicitly, is not at all objective. Everything about art, in fact, most things. Maybe you could find something that's objective in there. I'm sure you could. I was able to successfully point that out, that art is a very subjective thing, but I feel like the more interesting conclusion there is like, why then do we have all these conceptions? You know what I mean? And that's the part of it I think so many people can feel, even if they don't say, is like, it's strange that I have these, that I'm taught to believe that like more, for an example, a big one, more serious art is better, right? I know the biggest gap that I saw in the art criticism space that I really started to wake me up towards like, oh, there's something, like I'm missing something here when I'm talking about art from this perspective, is the way that they would treat, so remember I'm in the anime and manga space, the way that they would treat Berserk as a series. Berserk is this series that's totally amazing, by the way. It's by Kentaro Miura, and it's a really great series. I think it's good, and it's considered to be the best though. Like it is kind of like how, I don't know if there's an album equivalent to it, but those certain there's definitely multiple equivalents to it, that's for sure, of like those certain albums where if you name them and go, I think that's the best album of all time, everyone in your immediate vicinity will be like, yeah, no, I can see that. Those universally loved albums. I'd say it's one of the closest things to that for anime and manga. It is, a, like, universally adored series. Even me, who has problems with it, like, it's one of those things that I can definitely still look at and be like, oh no, that's a really amazing thing, Okay, so I'm trying to do kind of a tree-looking guy, like from The Green Knight, the A24 film. I think he looks really cool. And I figured it was better to start off with him to do a more ambitious painting because he's a tree, not a person. So he will look more good even if I don't execute it well, which, I mean, I feel like I'm ruining it already. But trust the process, I suppose. Even though I don't think I have much of a process here at all. So yeah, this is gonna be, I think I kind of messed him up because I already made him too human looking. I feel like what I should do, okay, I have an idea. Sorry, there's probably gonna be a little more commentary than usual in this painting as I try something a little bit more ambitious than usual. But back to Berserk, right? Berserk is a series that's very serious, very adult, and universally loved. Even me, someone who has a ton of problems with the series, like, looks at it and goes like, no, it's amazing, you know? And I found it interesting because I would consider Berserk to be on the level of a series like, a One Piece or something like that. You know, I think it's comparable in quality to a lot of other series, in my personal opinion. Again, I don't believe in any objectivity here, so I believe that, right? But I found it interesting how Berserk got this special treatment, and then, I went to read it for the first time. I was much younger. Before I think I even started a channel or anything like that, I went to go read it, and I found it so interesting because it was like I was like, this is great, but like, why are people acting like this is definitively better than everything else ever? Like, that's a little bit, like, that is great, but that's like high praise, like, I think this is really good, but better than everything else ever made. I don't know if I would say that. And as I got further into the space of criticism and all that, is when I started like talking to people about it. And what I kind of gathered was like, this is treated as better because whereas a lot of anime and manga is more jovial in tone, if you will, this is a very serious series, right? It takes itself very seriously. It just is serious. There's a lot of, and one of my biggest problems with the series, there's a lot of like very graphic content in there, specifically of a sexual nature, and that was one of my biggest issues with it, is I didn't feel that was entirely necessary to convey what it wanted to convey. That was one of my big issues with it. I felt like it was almost like by the 5th time something like that was happening, I was like, so the author really liked putting this stuff in there, huh? It was almost a little uncomfortable in my eyes. And that's, again and again, though, what I would encounter was that this was treated this way because it was of a more mature aptitude, would that be the word? Dealt with more mature themes. It took itself very seriously, all this stuff. And obviously, I kind of came to the conclusion that, like, being anime and manga being this very young space, I don't think, I myself know, as someone who's much older now and not in that space anymore, that, like, you kind of grow out of it a little bit. Maybe I still love a lot of anime and manga. I still watch all that stuff, and I think a lot of people do. But, like, the way that I would hyper-consume it and really dive into a lot of these series, I think that's something very much, a teenage thing, And as I came out of that and was able to sort of see back into it, I came to the conclusion that Berserk, while great, while really good, was seen as way better than it was, because I think it was a lot of people's first exposure to these more mature themes. If I were to come up with a very reductive reasoning of like why I think it's treated the way it is, right? And that's what I think I got more. That was one of the first points, though, while I was in the space still, that I kind of woke up to, like, why is this treated so much better? You know what I mean? Like this is treated as better because it's darker, because it's more serious, right? And I thought that, like, if you looked at it hard enough, a series that's more, I don't want to use the word childish, but childish, for lack of a better word, a series that takes itself a lot less seriously, like One Piece, I was like, this deals with themes that are just as complex if you look at it the right way, and yet it's treated as if it's not even up for debate, that this is just not possibly on the same level as a Berserk, right? And that is one of the big conceptions that we all have about art that really kind of woke me up to the space of, like, why I don't love art criticism. Is like, why is it that more serious things are considered better or higher brow, right? Because, like, objectively, there's no objective basis on which you can say that kind of thing, It's very much a completely subjective thing, whether something is serious or unserious. It can handle the same topics and do it relatively, it doesn't mean that it's going to do it amazing either way, but they're both capable of it, you know what I mean? There's nothing, to put it more succinctly, there's nothing inherent about a serious piece of art that makes it any better than an unserious piece of art. So it's like, why is this seen as like almost one of the tenets of art? Serious art's good. And I think you can go like this all day. A big case in which I find this to be very true and almost sad is when it comes to like Western art versus Eastern. And this can be said of philosophy too, and a multitude of topics. You can talk about this category for just a lot of stuff is like because of colonialism, racism, history, all of these things, like it is definitely seen as when you make something look like a Renaissance painting, it's seen as like an amazing, it's seen as just higher quality. And it's like, why? How come the paintings from, Asia that were the wood blocks of that same period aren't seen quite as highbrow? Why do those go on t-shirts in Hot Topic these days or in Uniqlo, and Renaissance paintings are seen as like highbrow? And the truth is they're not. Those wood blocks are just as beautiful as Renaissance paintings. But even I'm now at this point like socially conditioned. I said in one of my videos, like, I think Renaissance paintings are some of the best art. I do. You know what I mean? I'm fully conditioned to believe that. I looked into the Renaissance as a kid because it was the first real art that I was exposed to, And because of all these things, now it's like, now we have these conceptions that kind of are almost these self-fulfilling feedback loops, right? And that's where I think that video I made about Michelangelo and Chief Keef is, while good and like definitely got to an important thing that I think I'm happy that a lot of people resonated with, is still ultimately missing the much more interesting conversation about like, how do our conceptions develop of art, right? If there's no subjectivity, why is it that everyone's like, oh no, there is though? Like, where do our objective conceptions come from? Now, unfortunately, I don't have, like, I can point to really easy examples of this. I can go like, Renaissance paintings are seen as highbrow because of, decades of colonialism and all these things. And, I can do that. That's super easy though. Anyone could do that. But like, when it comes to something like, why is serious art seen as more important? How come art with a male lead is seen as like a story with a female lead usually doesn't get like quite the same play? Why are all romance stories female lead? I'm sure you could come up with easier reasons for that one too, mainly patriarchy and the fact that like a lot of the market of a lot of romance stuff does happen to be women. So I think that's, there's some easy answers there. But like, for the most part, I can't come up with an answer of like why certain ideals are seen as better than others in art. I can't. Like, I can speculate all day. I could say like, oh, I think a lot of Christian ideals are seen as higher brow because of who funded art for a lot of history. I could do that, but I'm quite frankly just not smart enough to make a well-formatted video on it. What I do think is an interesting conversation though is like, what is it that makes something objective from the lens of art, right? And there definitely are things. Like, to say that there's nothing objective about any art ever is just a lie, right? Look at the painting in front of me. You can make a lot of objective statements about it. One is that it's bad. It's definitely come out worse since I started it. Two, though, is, other smaller things, like the main colors are black, brown, and green, making, it's meant to look like a tree guy. You can make objective statements about it. The paint is very thick on the canvas, right? I don't know if that quite picks up on camera, but it is. You can make a statement like that, and that's an objective statement about the piece, right? But why is it that you can't make objective statements about if it's good or bad or not? Why is art subjective? Because I think it's an easy statement to make. Art is subjective. I fully believe that. As I sit here saying it, 100%, that's just true, right? Art is 100% subjective. Why, though? Why? What makes art subjective? Because to me, the reason I've always taken for that is because it's art, because it has to be subjective. Of course it's subjective. But how come when I went from realizing that art is went from thinking that art is something that can be critiqued to now having this very, vapid view of art of like everything is just whatever you make it. Why is it that I didn't get an answer in there of like, why is art subjective? I know why food is subjective, because everyone's taste palate's a little different. Is that the reason why art's subjective? I quite frankly don't think so. I think that that's not true. I don't think that that makes much sense. Everyone does have different tastes, but I don't think that's why art is subjective. So what makes it subjective? Because I think this is especially interesting because there are so many objective things about art. You know what I mean? This is painted with oil paint. This is on an 8x8 canvas. This is green and brown and black, like I was saying. There are thick strokes on this canvas. It has a white background. You can make endless subjective statements about this, especially if you want to zoom in on areas. Like, over here in this area, it's a little more translucent than over here where the black bark is laid on really thick, right? There's so many objective statements you can make. Why is it that all these objective elements lead to a subjective whole of whether you think this is good or bad? And then even more interesting is like, so let's say, again, going back to the piece in front of me, right? Most people, myself included, would go like, this piece in front of me is bad, right? Like, why is it that some pieces are more subjective than others? Technically, in my opinion, let's say, or just, for the hypothetical, we'll say that out of 100 people you walk up to with this painting in front of me, as it is right now, unfinished, 70 of them will say it's bad, 70-30 split. But if you walk up to 100 people with the Mona Lisa, 70 of them would probably say it's good. Maybe you get 30 people who don't like the Mona Lisa, maybe 65-30, 65 say it's good, you get a couple more in there who don't like it. So why is that the Mona Lisa is, so would you say then the Mona Lisa is less if it's more agreeable that it's good, would you say it's more objective then? Like less subjective, more objective that it's good? Is that how that works? Like, why are some things universally appealing and this isn't? And I would argue this isn't because I don't have the technique to make it good, like all these things. But like, I don't know. I think there's something like strange in there. Because even if you're to say, okay, this is objectively emotional, you can't do that. Because there are tons of songs that I consider to be extremely sad, extremely emotional. They've played for people and they're like, no, I don't get it. And that's valid, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it to say that's strange, but like, how come is it that you can't even say something's emotionally objective? You can only say, so the only objective details about art are the details surrounding the piece then? Is that what the conclusion is here? Because that's certainly what we've kind of come to, you know what I mean? If the opinion on the piece isn't objective, and only things like it's green, brown, and black, or it has thick strokes are objective. Oh my god, I'm using these words so much. They're losing their meaning. You know when that happens, you say a word so much you forget what it means. I'm having one of those moments. So like, if those things are considered to be the objective elements of it, why is that? But then again, okay, so this is a big question that I think about quite a bit, right? Oh, I should just make the beard all the way to give him an actual face shape. Oh my god, okay, that's what I need to do. I see it now. So if I'm gonna say those things are objective though, how can I say that? And I'm gonna do the most annoying thing in the world, a colorblind person might see the painting in front of me and go, no, the colors are blue and red and white. That's what they see. And the background is black. They see the whole thing like inverted or whatever. Why is it that we go, so I do understand how color works. I know there's like wave refractors and all that, but let's just take that away from this conversation for a minute. Who's technically right then? You know what I mean? Like, colors are invented. Maybe they come from, maybe they're Russian, where they have more words for blue. So their definition is actually more precise. Even color in that sense is not objective, And this isn't to do the most annoying thing in the world of like, I can make art whatever I want it. You know what I mean? I still do believe there's some like level of quality, and you can ask any one of my friends. I'm the most annoying person when it comes to art. I will talk about it all day. And I mean, you guys should just know this actually from my videos and all that. Like I do believe there's quality in some art and like not quality in others. I do. Like I'm not I'd say it doesn't happen often, but I do watch things where I'm like, that's just bad. That wasn't good. You know, like I'm definitely capable of having those feelings towards a piece. So, you know, like what makes something bad? And that's where like I can make points about it of like, this is actually something that I find really interesting. A Twitch streamer I watch, Sean C, great streamer, the best streamer, he critiques music. And one time someone in his chat, I feel like, or maybe he was like in a video, he was talking about this, I don't know. They were basically just asking him like, how could you ever give an opinion on music if like, you know that, like, you don't know what the artist is going for. You don't know all these things, right? What if you say the new Kanye album is mixed terribly, but he wanted it that way for some meaning, right? And what he was more so saying is like, A, it should be just taken for granted that everything is one's opinion. And that's completely true, right? B, though, like he was like, there are things you can point out about art. Going back to the thing of music, he was like, I can say it's mixed badly, and that's an objective thing, and I can say whether I like that or not. So let's take it again to the most extreme example of colors, because those are really easy to make into a objective thing, right? Let's say that for some reason you don't like paintings that are in a green and brown color palette of tree guys, right? And you're like, that's why I think this piece is bad. No other reason. That's the singular and only reason why I think this is a ugly piece, right? There's a million for this one, but let's just say that's your only one. Technically, like, no one can say you're wrong. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of no closer to the answer. I think like I don't know. I think there's something like in there, but this is the reason why I actually quit my first YouTube channel, or not my first, that was one of my like latest YouTube channels technically, because I took a long break after that one, but besides the point, that's why I quit that channel, because I was thinking of questions like these, and I was like, there's just no way that I could say I know anything. You know what I mean? There's no way I can say I know anything about art. So that's why I quit it. And now the videos I've come back to make are either A, more personal in nature, or B, having to do with art from like a meta sense of like, let's discuss the philosophy behind art, not so much a singular piece itself. Anyways, guys, this is the painting for today. I will go on record right now and say I think this is the single worst painting I've made in all of Paint and Talk. For a couple of reasons. One, he just kind of looks like Poseidon if you just gave him, like, if you just made him in these colors. Like, he just kind of doesn't look good. Also, I think you, as the viewer who have watched me paint it, have probably seen, like, you saw the face form at the beginning and turn it into this. I think if you're looking at it without the context, though, of that, like, you don't know that this is even a face. Maybe, okay, we're gonna take another second here, actually. Literally 2 seconds. I wanna turn this into something a little bit more abstract. This is me kind of leaning on abstraction as a way to make something not look quite as bad, for sure. But I think I'd rather do that than have something. I don't like the idea of having something that's like half in one foot, half in the other, even if I don't have the skill. I think, okay, so this is important to say as we wrap up here, as I finish off this painting and make it into something very different, ruin it in the last 10 seconds, if you will. I think this is important, right? I'm going to keep trying things like this in all the Paint and Talks, because I think that's ultimately a very important and good thing to do, right? I need to learn, so I'm going to have paintings like this where I mess up gravely and indefinitely, right? It's going to keep happening. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be a lot of bad paintings. What I'm going to do in the process of this is I want to start prepping canvases off camera. So I'm not going to be learning anything, because the whole point is I'm learning right here with you guys, right? So I'm not going to learn anything off camera, but like I'll probably do like a wash on a canvas so I can paint something of a different color. I'll probably try some landscapes. I tried a face here, which was definitely a bad idea. I just like, there's no reality in which I have the skill level to do a face yet. Okay, let's try. Oh my God, that's terrible. But I guess now it's more of like a nature thing than a direct like tree guy. Okay, well, I think I've ruined this painting enough to say it's abstract. So once again, guys, you have seen me do the single worst painting in Paint&Talk history. I'm now going to turn it into a colored canvas instead of something else. It's camo, guys. It's camo, so you can't see it. Okay. Yeah, no, this is terrible. This is so bad. Wait. No. I don't know why I dropped a weight in there, as if I was looking at anything in front of me. I guess now it's just like a natured colored blobby pattern, which is gonna look better on a wall than whatever that guy was, so I'll take it. But yeah, no, this goes down as the worst painting in Paint&Talk history for sure, and I'm glad that I could show all of you it. But jokes aside, of course, this is an important part of the process, showing you guys as I learn painting things that don't come out good. Hopefully I won't try something quite as daring when I start off, because it really leads to things that don't look good. So, you know, that's that. But I will be trying landscapes and things like that, so I will be prepping canvases off camera. And outside of that, that's it. That's all that there is to it. So, you guys know the drill, as always. Go look at this awful display on Instagram. If I post this one, I guess I gotta post all of them, right? It's cheating if I skip one because it's really bad. All right, so we're posting all of them, guys. So go check this out on Instagram. It'll be up within the day after you check this one out. I'll be dropping another post today too of photos of me to distract from this going up. But not a great painting, but I hope we had a good talk today. And until I see you guys tomorrow, drop a hate comment about this painting, I guess. That's really all there is left to do now, huh?